voter education, Mr. Nick Dazang. You are welcome to Edo Decides.
Thank you for having me.
And then we have the head of department of Mascom-based University, Dr. Abiodun Adeniyi.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my pleasure.
We also have the chairman of the Center for Peace Studies, Professor Alade Jinadu. Professor Alade Jinadu, thank you for having us. We thank you for having you on the program today.
It's my pleasure.
Now let's do some quick look at what we are likely to have on the ground, as INEC already has positioned things. By now, like I hinted, voting should have commenced, and it commences simultaneously with accreditation. And Mr. Nick Dazang is going to give us a picture of what INEC has put in place as at this morning.
Thank you, Femi. As at now, I would expect that our staff, more than 20,000 of them, across 2,627 polling units and 408 voting points, would have set up all the polling units. As opposed to previous elections, we are deliberately opening the polls today at 8:30, and elections will close officially at 2:30. But anyone who has joined the queue before 2:30 will be allowed to vote because of the exigencies of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we, like I said, we deliberately set out to open the polls at 8:30, and the idea is to allow our staff to set up the polling units, disinfect the general area in which the polling centers are, and then we expect that now as voters approach the polling units, each one of them will come wearing a face mask or a covering, and as soon as he comes to the polling unit, he will wash his hands with water and soap, and then he will be directed to join the queue. And in the queue, the voter has to observe social and physical distancing. And as he approaches the polling staff to get accredited and verified using the smart card reader, as soon as he's verified and authenticated, the same smart card reader will be disinfected using methylated spirit, and then he will proceed to the cubicle and cast his vote. And sanitizers are available for him also to apply. And this will continue in all the polling units across Edo State. And we expect that at the end of voting, the votes will be sorted out, they will be counted, and the results will be entered into the Form EC8A. And after they have been entered and signed by the polling agents, they will now be torn off. They are tear-offs. You now tear them off and give to representatives of all the political parties and the security agencies. Also, you enter the same result in a poster form called Form 60E, which will be pasted on the wall, or where there is no wall, you paste it on a tree for any voter who is interested to view the outcome of the conduct of the election in that polling unit. Now, in addition to that, which is a transparency measure, we have also introduced a portal, the INEC results portal, that you can log into using www.inecresults.com. And you can view the outcome of real time of the results in all the polling units across Edo State. We introduced this portal 4 weeks ago when we conducted the Nasarawa State House of Assembly election in Nasarawa constituency. And in that particular election, not less than 1,000 people now viewed the outcome of the result. In the case of Edo, we have expanded the width of the portal to accommodate real time and simultaneously not less than 2 million people viewing the outcome of the results without any glitches, without the portal clogging.
Adding more to the transparency of
the process.
The process.
Yes.
But let's still dwell a little bit on the logistics. Before now, INEC has always had a load of logistical areas to deal with. Now we have COVID-19. And you mentioned sanitizers being used at various levels. That adds to your logistic responsibilities.
Exactly. It adds also to the costs, because where we are supposed to, let's take, for example, use 3-4 vehicles, it means we must use twice as much vehicles in order to ensure physical and social distancing of our ad hoc staff. Yes, logistics has always been a perennial challenge for INEC, but what we have done in recent times is to work with the Nigerian Union of Road Transport Workers and NATO and the Federal Road Safety Commission. We get the vehicles from NATO and NURTW, and we get the Road Safety Commission to certify that these vehicles are fit and proper to convey our men and materials. And we had a memorandum of understanding with these organizations before now, but we have firmed up this memorandum of understanding such that we are now insisting that the Road Safety Commission, with which we are also working in another committee, that is the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, to inspect these vehicles, certify that they are fit before they are used. And we do that in advance of the conduct of the election, so that it does not...
And double the number you used to
and
have
for COVID
before.
now, we have to double the number, because we want our workers and voters to work and vote in safety. And so the consideration is to do the utmost and in concert with our own policy that we articulated, without anybody prompting us. Because once this pandemic went global, we had to sit down in the commission and say, okay, the elections that we are going to conduct are off-cycle, they are end of tenure, they are circumscribed by the Constitution, they are immovable, you cannot move them. In fact, one notable lawyer said they are like Mount Zion, you cannot move them.
Yes.
So once we reckoned that these elections cannot be moved, what we did was to sit down and articulate our own guidelines. And after articulating the guidelines, we shared them with all the stakeholders. We consulted with the political parties, we consulted with the media, we consulted with civil society. We shared this policy also with the security agencies, and we put all these stakeholders through the policy. And all the security men we are deploying have gone through this policy diligently. They have been put through, and they are going to work in concert with the guidelines. And these guidelines also incidentally agree, with the guidelines initiated and articulated by the World Health Organization, by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, and the National Center for Disease Control. So we are on the same page, and not only on the same page, even as we are conducting the elections, we are working with the Presidential Task Force and the National Center for Disease Control. In fact, in the Nasarawa State election, the PTF kindly and generously provided us 1,000 thermometers that we deployed. And we expect that even though by our own guidelines, we will deploy thermometers, infrared thermometers at the collation centers, we are looking out to the same solidarity and support from the PTF, so that almost all the 3,035 polling units, voting points put together, we have infrared thermometers, and we'll take the temperature of voters as they come to the queue.
Okay. We have to now do like an analysis of what democracy itself is to the normal Nigerian. Every time you hear people during elections talk about they want free, fair, and credible elections. Professor Adele Jinadu, you are the chairman of the Center for Democracy and Development Election Analysis Center. That, in that capacity, makes you very conversant with elections, not only in Nigeria, but all across the world. When people talk about free, fair, and credible elections, what do you think they want?
Well, I think basically, thank you for having me. Yes. I think basically what is involved here is for the legal and political system to provide a level playing ground for the political parties to operate and to make it possible for the electorate to exercise their own choice. And that assumes that you are within a democratic political culture. But then I think what we have witnessed over the past several years is that democratic political context is very, very fragile. And because it is fragile, the conditions for free and fair election are also very, very weak. Okay. And so that in looking at the preparation of what INEC is doing, we must also take into account that framework, that context, constrains whatever they can do. And then you add to that the fact of underdevelopment. You were talking of logistics. Our political economy imposes a lot of infrastructure, has a lot of infrastructural deficits, which even make it difficult, even in urban areas, to get to voters. So I think it's important to look at all of this in the context of the political structure that we have. And for me, that is always what makes it difficult for us to have what you call free and fair elections by international and African standards. But of course, what we then need to realize is that within that constraining context, we are also making progress. You see, a democracy is not either or. It's in phases, and you make progress. There is you go back a bit, and so on and so forth. So I think it's important to look at it in that various context. But as we are now facing Edo, you see, I think that political context that we're talking about has been strained to a great extent by the structure of the party system, poverty in the land, and the orientation of people in terms of their expectations from elections. I think people generally assume that their votes may not count. Okay. And that is also a very, very important factor that we need to take into account.
Dr. Deni, I have not known any political personality that does not want free, fair, and credible election. Yeah. But taking the result, the effect of a free, fair, and credible election always differ from one person to the other. How, certainly it's not possible to satisfy everybody, but how can we establish that scenario where people agree that this has been a free, fair, and credible election?
But first of all, I think we have to situate it within our understanding or our appreciation or our philosophy of what political contestation should be. In ordinary times, we see that people regard election as a do or die affair. It's also very important for us to understand that it's no longer ordinary. It's something that is die-hearted. It's something that is prevalent, and it is not just prevalent coming from the sky. It is prevalent because, of the implications of holding the average political office in this country. It is seen ordinarily as the fastest, the shortest way, to wealth. The shortest way to distribution of wealth. To sharing of resources. And of course, we can also look at it within the context of our political economy, which is still very weak. Because it is weak, the private sector is weak, and the private sector is not as vibrant, and the vibrancy is limited in terms of the opportunity it offers for people, to take the least option towards wealth. So because of this because the private sector is closed, people now look forward to the public sector, because that's where you can wake up in one day and become a millionaire, a billionaire for that matter. And because of that, holding political office is seen as that singular route, through which you can ease life, through self-aggrandizement. And that's why you see people becoming very vociferous, very die-hearted when it comes to the process that leads to the holding of public office. And that's why we keep making the point that this is unacceptable, it is very wrong, it is a perversion of what a democratic culture should be, because democracy is about involvement, it's about participation, it's about freedom to think, freedom to act the way you want to act. And that's why, again, it's very important for us to begin to think about how well we can bring about reorientation. How can we bring about value change, virtue change, objective change, so that people will realize, not the people in this sense, not just the ordinary people, but even the political class or the elites will realize that public resources shouldn't be one for sharing, and the sharing cut across really. Sharing is not limited to the powerful, the influential alone. You also find it amongst the people, because when you are easily receptive to those things that are meant to tilt your viewpoints, you are welcoming to 5,000, 2,000, 3,000. You are not seeing it as your dignity, being taken away. You lack that understanding. You have accepted it as a fait accompli, something that's probably right, something that you actually deserve as a part of your own national cake. Then it takes you away from the objective material cause of the electioneering itself. The right desire for you, the desire for you, or the ideal thing is not only for you to express your views through your ballot, your ballot through the ballot in a very free way, but you get that influence covertly or overtly, directly or indirectly, by being, by accepting one of some few changes here and there. Again, we cannot really completely blame the people, because they've been impoverished, they've been annihilated for over years. But that's why we need to give it a holistic view, not just on the part of the people, but of course on the part of the elites. And it will lead us eventually to the question of leadership. Have we gotten the kind of leader we really want? We're not doing badly, no doubt, but perhaps we'll say that we still have some miles to cover.
Now, Professor Jinedu, having taken a broad view of what we desire in this election, let's come back to where we started with Mr. Dazang, the Edo elections. What's the atmosphere like from your monitoring? Do you have people on ground, your center?
Yes, we do have people on ground. Yes. And the report we have is very, very disheartening, because definitely, whatever the outcome of the process today may be, what has led up to it has tainted that prospect for free, fair, and credible elections. Because going into those elections, going into today, there has been very, very serious developments which put in, which makes one feel that the process could have been better than it has turned out to be. Take party primaries, for example. That whole process that has turned up candidates for the various parties, particularly for the two major parties, has not been open, inclusive, and transparent. So that is a major...
Who determines that?
No,
the electoral law says it is the insiders, the political parties, the players in the political parties that can complain.
Yeah, that is no well. People, you see, the point is that whole process has violated party constitution for inter-party democracy. That process of selecting candidates, it is definitely not been what it ought to be. And so, to that extent, the candidates that the two parties have thrown up have a big question mark over them in terms of complying with the process for choosing candidates within the political parties.
Again, yeah. I go back to that issue. Yes. We can't complain.
No, we can party members can complain, but
party members are not seen to be complaining.
But the point is that the political parties, the leadership of the political parties, have such an overwhelming control over them, and the process of disengaging from that will take some time. It has to take a period at which the party members themselves will say, enough is enough, we don't want this. And you can already see that within the parties in terms of the ruptures, the factions that are emerging within the political. So that is there. The other development leading up to this is, of course, the impunity with which state resources has been, for partisan political purposes, has affected the political process itself, to the extent that it has created that constitution that this is not a credible process in terms of what is being done. So I think basically that is, and then the whole question of, we are already seeing that people are already buying, quote unquote, buying votes, promising that if you vote for my party, this is what I'm going to get for you. So I think that is also another dimension that has to be that. And then the whole question of fake news that has been disseminated in terms of what is happening. So I think that is another problem that we have to take into account in the whole process. So I think the process leading to the election has created serious doubts about compliance with this free and fair conduct of elections.
Now, in some few minutes from now, we shall be going to Benin, but let's do some tidying up here. Mr. Dazang, you had some of those comments, which looked like comments from the classroom, but realistically in Nigeria, we see that they apply. Let's take a perception from you, going by what Professor Jinadu just talked about now. What is the relationship between INEC and the security organizations? I know before elections, you all sit together with stakeholders and all that. Who determines the number of policemen deployed for an election? You have 20,000 personnel and ad hoc staff deployed for this Edo election. But the police has 31,000 police deployed for this election. Who called for it? Is it INEC, or police does its own assessment by itself and deploys as it deems fit?
Okay, let me start by saying that by law, the police is the lead agency, security agency for securing the environment for the conduct of elections. Having said that, let me also say that before now we recognize the need to take advantage of the talents or resources domiciled in all the security agencies. As a result, we created an agency, the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, in which all the security agencies are members, and they bring to bear their own expertise, their specialty, and their talent to that agency. And so during the conduct of elections, we engage with the security agencies, and the deployment that the police does reflects this engagement. And also we deploy risk tools. We try to find out which areas constitute flashpoints, likely flashpoints during the conduct of the elections. They also deploy similar tools. And whatever intelligence we gather, we share with them, and that then determines the level of deployment. But what we have always done, or what the security agencies have always done, is to deploy at least 2 policemen to each polling unit. But this time around, based on the results of the deployment of the risk tools that we did, they are now deploying 3 policemen per polling unit. But even as they are doing that, other agencies like the Navy, like the military, are providing security at the borders. The idea is to deter the influx of maybe thugs or others from other adjoining states to Edo State. And also to further secure the environment, not of the polling units per se, but at the borders and where we might have difficulties because certain parts of Edo are riverine. So we need the resources of the Navy to convey materials, to convey our staff in safety and bring them back in safety. And so in securing the environment for an election, you have 3 concentric rings or cordons. The outer cordon is where the borders are, and these are secured, by sometimes the army or the navy, as the case may be. Then the second cordon is where you now have at the ward level mobile policemen that are stationed in the event of violence so that they can come in and intervene. But they are not stationed at the polling units. Then at the polling units, you now have policemen, and where policemen are not adequate, you also find staff of civil defense, customs, immigration, and so on. So when the police say they are deploying 31,000, they are not saying they are all policemen, no. Because that means we would have depleted all the policemen in the country. But we complement, we try to get other agencies to supplement the police. So that is how the deployment is done. And so you would see that there are areas where the police will deploy more security men, and that is based on the reports we would have received before the conduct of the election. Now, coming to what Prof said, it's not actually theory or classroom thing. If you want to assess an election, you assess it from the pre-election, the preparation for the conduct of the election, the actual conduct itself,
okay,
and then the outcome.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that will give you a fair picture of give you a bigger picture of how the election was conducted.
Okay. Now let's go to Benin now. Okay. Let's we will do more analysis from here, and immediately we are ready to go to Benin. We certainly will go there. Sure, just like you, the viewers, we too are itching to see live what is happening there in Benin.
I was saying that if you want to have a fair assessment of an election, you must look at the circumstances surrounding the preparation for the conduct, and then the actual conduct, and then the outcome itself. So when you have these 3 put together,
governorship candidates, and while you are talking about what the situation is on ground now. Now, for instance, of course, we have to look back first, just like you are saying about what Professor Dinadu said. We look for the 2016 elections. That's the election that brought in Godwin Obaseki, the registered number of voters. We have an improvement, Mr. Dazan, over the number of registered voters. Here, for this election, we have 2.2 million.
Yes.
The number of registered voters. Now, but okay, for now, we have 1.9 or so that collected their PVCs.
Yeah, 1,726,738.
That collected their PVCs.
Yes.
Now, we don't know the number of accredited voters yet. That's the process we are going into today. But for 2016, we had 622,039 that were accredited for the votes. Valid votes. Is that not discouraging for 2016 to have About what's the difference? About 40-something thousand votes nullified that were invalid for 20. Let's talk about that. What can cause invalid votes?
Well, a vote can be declared invalid if, in the course of voting, you know, the voter thumbprints across two the symbols or the names of two candidates.
Okay.
So you are not in a position to decide as to
Which one?
Yes, okay. And if the ballot itself is marked, so you cannot now count that ballot, and our staff will not declare that ballot invalid without the scrutiny of the polling agents. They will show them, and they will also confirm that you cannot confirm for which candidate this particular voter has voted. So it's not something unilateral. Okay. And then it is set aside and not counted. Okay. And this has to do with sometimes lack of voter education. Most of the voter education is done by the commission and civil society organizations and development partners. Okay. The political parties whose remit it is, you know, to educate voters as to how to vote even for themselves, hardly invest or devote their time and energies in educating voters. So we've always challenged them. Yes. And, you know, if you look at the difference of 40-something thousand, yes, it's substantial in our own dispensation of first past the post, yes, or majoritarian democracy, whereby, you know, at the end of the day, there are two things that will determine who becomes governor. First, the person who becomes, who wins the election must have scored the highest votes cast in that election. He must score at least 25% of the votes in at least 2/3 of the local governments in Edo State. So if you have just one vote ahead of the other person, you know you have an edge over him. Yes. Especially if you have the spread, yes, 25% across the 18 local governments in Edo State. So these are consequential in our view, and we've always said we will do our own part, but we expect the political parties to do theirs. There are only rare instances where I've seen, for example, there was an election in Anambra State where the candidate of Labour Party, he was the only one I've seen who consciously invested in educating voters about how to vote for him.
Let Dr. Adeniyi talk to this. He has given us the premise for this kind of discrepancy, for this kind of difference. But do you have something to say about the education department, public education department of our political parties? Imagine INEC has a whole department for public education and sensitization. But how many, apart from campaigns on the soapbox, how much of education do our voters know as to have less of this kind of number of votes being invalidated?
Well, I think we can look at it from different perspectives. One is to understand that we're still a predominantly illiterate society. You know, the level of education among our people is still very low. So it's bound to affect everything they do in terms of, including voting, in terms of trying to earn a living and all of that. So this falls within it as well. But in this kind of situation, of course, what you need to do is a tailor-made kind of education, a kind of election, give them some form of literacy, you know, voter education, like INEC would like to call it, you know, ahead of the election. But again, I don't want to believe that this thing should be left to INEC alone, because INEC is just one agency, except INEC is saying that they are doing it on behalf of the overall federal government. You know, beyond INEC as well, of course, the ministry agencies that can also partner or join INEC in bringing about a better understanding.
It can be a continuous
process, and that's why we keep saying again that our education or media literacy process, you know, or voter education process often come only ahead of only when election is near. It shouldn't be episodic. It should be a continuous. know the Bible or the Quran, but because we have to be reminded of our faith and probably to grow in it. But when we cease at some point and think that, okay, let's wait again until another 4 years, of course people forget, then you start all over again. But it gets better if there are improvement. And that's one of the reasons why you see some of this apathy, you know. And of course, political parties, I don't expect them to be religious about educating people, because they only have one focus, and however it comes, they don't mind. And they don't think that they should focus on value building, you know, value addition in terms of, you know, trying to educate or sensitize, you know, conscientize the populace towards knowing how they can vote. So it will always fall back onto government, maybe through INEC or through agencies of government.
Professor Dinadu, please, your comments on this education.
Yeah, I just want to make 1 or 2 points. 2 points really. I think first.
And remember, we are still talking about, we are looking at 2016, just as you laid the foundation. Looking back first, before we talk about this present.
I think the way the ballot paper itself is designed is very, very important. And I think we need to look into that. Because the way, I mean, if you look at our own now, if you have too many political parties on the ballot, if this year you're having about 40-something.
14 for Edu.
So that the ballot paper cannot be maybe 2 or 3 pages. I mean, you have to see how you're designing it, such that, you know, it will be easy for the voter to know where and what to thumbprint in terms of his or her own choice. The second point I want to make is that, you know, we need to follow the examples of some other African countries. The National Orientation Agency cannot do the role of voter education. It is an arm of the Minister of Education, or Minister of Information, which is owned by a party, which is controlled by a party, which is also taking part in the elections. So if you do, what you need to do is to have a voter education commission that is independent of government and that can be non-partisan not in some terms of trying to push the candidates of the party in government. So I think we need to take that seriously, and that is one of the points that the Wise Commission and Committee on Electoral Reform, a major recommendation is that create a voter education commission, which is independent of, just like an EFCC, or at least in terms of, and it has worked very well in a place like Ghana, for example.
Thank you very much.
But you see, the NOA has a big baggage coming from the time of IBB, when even those who were directing it went into politics. You know.
Thank you. We certainly will be back here to look at what we have leading into the 2020 governorship election in Edo State. But now we are ready to be in Benin to have something from there. But that, I think we shall now join Fisayo Ogunfuyi, who would lead us into what we're expecting from the other end. We're expecting from the other end. We're expecting.
Thank you, Femi, and I also greet those your respondents there in the studio. The panel there has been doing a great job. Welcome to the heart of this decision. Election morning, the dawn of decision, the day where the voter is king and the candidate the supplicant. Now, the thumb on the ballot comes from even the tiniest village in the state, nudging the preferred choice to a known destination, Government House, GRA, Benin. Today, the people will line up in their lots and speak through the ballot. It is a well-known procession that never loses its fascination, its excitement. And for those whose names are on the ballot paper, there's expectation and some trepidation. My name is Fisa Ogunfuyi. Welcome to Decision Day in Edo State. We are reaching you from Benin, the Zonal Network Center, and we have reporters spread across the states to be giving us as well as situation reports from across the state. I'm being joined, of course, by my guest who was here yesterday as well. I'm being joined, of course, by my guest who was here yesterday as well. I'm being joined, of course, by my guest who was here yesterday as well. I'm being joined, of course, by my guest
our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
Also, I want to vote, cast my vote, because today is the day we set aside to vote our choice, who will be the governor of this state. There will be campaigning. Campaign cannot solve the thing. This your PVC that will determine who will be your governor. Not by saying that I will vote. We don't have this, you cannot vote. This one will make you to know that you are a real citizen of Edo State, to cast your vote, to cast your mind. Today we are going there to go and cast our vote to our candidate that we trust, that we believe on.
Thank you very much. I am also here with another resident that I see on the street. Oga, what are you doing on the road?
Yeah, I'm rushing up. I live at Abuja. My voting center is at Ogrida, so I have to leave the home very early because I want to exercise my civic responsibility. That is why I left so early. I'm doing now to cast my vote for the candidate of my choice. This is my PVC.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And so the residents are rushing, like you've heard, to go to their polling centers to vote for the candidate of their choice, and they are hopeful that the election will be peaceful. I am now on Siloko Road. The restriction has begun. Security operatives are on ground. You're only allowed to pass this point when you show your PVC or you give valid reasons of why you have to move on an election day. It's back to you, Fisayo.
Thank you, Obey. Obey was also very early this morning, going around Benin to make sure that she saw the early birds. You can see that there's some excitement. They have their PVCs in their hand, and some perhaps registered when they were living elsewhere in the city center. They now need to rush back to where, they will cast their vote and all that. So we can see some excitement already building.
Oh, clearly. Just like we said yesterday, the place has been agog, and voters of Edo State have been waiting for this day, and happily the day has come. So they'll be doing themselves proud later in the day, even when the results start coming in. And
in terms of organizing this whole process, what would be your first, thoughts in terms of the security arrangement as well as the umpire itself, the ad hoc? What would they be expecting right now? Of course, it was shifted a bit. It was supposed to be start 8:30. It started at 8:30 to give them some wiggle room to begin to mount some of those things, PPEs and all that the voters will need.
Well, we go by the commitments they have expressed publicly. It's only after the election will have been conducted, when we are looking at the outcome, that we can actually say categorically what is taking place and what has not taken place. The INEC is vowed before the Nigerian public that it will conduct a free and fair election, that it is only interested in the process, not the outcome. And they have also made a commitment that the process they are going to run will have integrity. The security agencies, led by the police force, they are also giving their own commitment too. The police force itself is devoted, by reports, 30,000 men.
31,000.
31,000 even. So I think, yes, so far so good. The investment is visible. Let us see the dividends they will yield.
All right, you just spoke about the Independent National Electoral Commission. Now, INEC offices have opened, of course. Let's hear from our reporter that we've put right there to give us updates from that center. And that is Ogo Chukwukaona. Ogo, it's over to you.
The stage is set. The electorate are now going to their polling units to exercise their franchise. And right here at the INEC headquarters,
nothing seems to be happening at this time because attention is now shifted from the INEC office to the polling units. But later in the day, as expectedly, there would be an influx of people when the election would have been over. The electoral officers, presiding officers would have been coming back to base, and then collation will begin. Now, that is the situation here at the INEC headquarters, and I hope to bring you updates as events unfold. I am Ogochukwu Ona.
Thank you, Ogo. INEC did say, we spoke with the head of voter education here yesterday, Timidi Waruwe, and he stated that, of course, there's a little bit of technology interface as well for those who want to monitor online through their portal, the, voting in some of those results, coming raw results, as he said. That is an innovation that we'll see how it plays out in this election, which is a litmus test to the, the umpire moving forward in terms of enhancing the effectiveness of the old arrangements surrounding elections in the country.
Oh, sure. Whatever INEC can do to persuade the voter that the process the voter is invited to come and take part in is not tilted in any direction, that the INEC itself, as the umpire, remains impartial and visibly impartial. That would be very, because that's actually the credibility of the election, for the voters to be sure that the outcome of the election is a reflection of their intention. That is actually the very credibility of the election. Of course, the process, making sure you don't have obstacles that help one person and hinder the other, and so on. So, yes, whatever INEC can do, even beyond this, to persuade or convince the voter that the process is open, a level playing field. It doesn't have any investment in any particular candidate or political party. We all like that, because that's going to be the cornerstone of democracy. Because if people freely confer a mandate on a political party and a particular candidate, and at the end of the term, they now also have that same ability and confidence to review the performance of that candidate, whether to renew it or to confer it otherwise, that is the very cornerstone. They must believe in the electoral process. We must believe in it. We must hold it sacrosanct at all times.
All right, police has been assuring of a citizen-friendly approach at this time. Theirs is just to orchestrate the situation in such a way that people can go about their lawful duties, exercise their franchise. We had the DIG Zone 5 right here at the Zonal Network Center of the Nigerian Television Authority yesterday telling us all this. But let's look at the situation right now. We've seen two reports already with a lot of police presence in the background. But we have a reporter there, Austin Edemodu. Austin, can you give us an update from the security aspect of things this morning?
Yeah. This is the situation here at the Edo State Police Command. As earlier as 7 o'clock this morning, you can witness movement of police personnel as expected in respect to today's election in Edo State. Of course, the command is deploying its personnel to different election locations within Edo State. From my right, you can see that there are officers that are already waiting in their police van, and most of them are already moving on to embark on the journey to different local government areas where they will be ensuring that there is a peaceful election in Edo State. And also, if you take a look by the left, you can see mostly police women who are battle ready. You can see them singing. They are already in the mood to ensure that we have a hitch-free election here in Edo State. It might interest you to know that this election is going to have up to 31,000 police personnel that will be mobilized to different locations in Edo State to ensure that no elements of thuggery, elements of hooliganism, or elements of criminality is witnessed in different parts of voting centers, as we expect to see a history election here in Edo State. In as much as these police officers are ready to do their job today, they are also ensuring that there is something in their stomach to ensure that nothing is taken out of the action, as we expect them to live up to their responsibilities in terms of ensuring that there's peaceful election in Edo State. So, of course, as expected, you can see that some traders are already making bricks businesses within the police command, and it's quite interesting to see how these personnel are going to be energized, well motivated to carry out their duties to the betterment of the people of Edo State. I'm Austin Edemodo reporting from the Edo State Police Command.
Thank you very much, Austin. Thank you. I hope you also had something before you left, because we are going to keep you there all day. Very insightful report there. We've seen, the security men getting ready, pep talk, even singing just to get themselves in the mood before, of course, they move to the different locations and ensure hitch-free exercise.
Oh, sure. Particularly seeing the police women forming a kind of contingent. In fact, I think that is the way the Nigerian police wants to convince us they want to humanize the process, because there is a nurturing role. Women have a way of being soft, even while being effective. So we do hope that there's going to be an atmosphere that will permit people going there with confidence without any fear of molestation. So yeah. We do remember, if we want to go outside Nigeria a bit, that Liberia needed female policemen at the time, brought from India. So I think it's a good example. So Edo is showing a model, maybe it will be replicated in Ondo soon, and then nationwide much later. So.
All right, that's a good one. Of course, we've been giving you reports from the southern part of the state. That's the South Senatorial District of Edo State. Most of what we've been seeing, giving you what you've been seeing right now. But of course, we still have the northern part of the state. We have, the northern part as the Esako area, the Akoko Edo area of Edo State. And then you have the central, where we have the Esan-speaking aspect of part of the state down to the edge of the River Niger, where you have the likes of Lushi. Let's go to our reporter there, Rosemary Ibrahim. She's reporting from Maudo Primary School, Ward 4 in Ekpoma.
I'm here at Ogbeme, the primary school in Rekpen, in Esan West local government area of Edo State. Here you have a total number of 2,690 registered voters. As you can see, they are warming up to exercise their civic responsibility, while some are still searching for their names on the board to see where they are allocated to. It is very important again to let you know that this is the ward that the former governor of Edo State, Professor O. Serime Osunbo, cast his ballot. We are still very much on ground to see the outcome of the election.
All right, thank you very much, Rosemary. We'll also, of course, expect reports from different parts of that area. That's Ekpoma, of course. We have that's Irekwe. We also have an NTA station right there. We have Ekpoma. We'll be expecting reports from the other parts of Esan land from you in the course of the day. Of course, we will also be looking at several other reports. We will, join our reporters in their respective locations. Let's see if Victor is ready, or perhaps Obey, and then compare and contrast what is happening in terms of accreditation.
Here in Auchi, the headquarters of Isako West Local Government Area. I am in Unit 1 of Ward 1 in the local government. Here, this unit will have over 1,000 registered voters in this unit, and less than 800 voters have collected their PVC in this unit. As you can see, voters are coming from their houses to ensure that they check the voters register that is displayed by the Independent National Electoral Commission this morning. The officials of INEC are already on ground carrying out their duties, with security operatives also ensuring that there is peaceful conduct of the exercise here in Auchi. Now, the voters, some of them are already seated, while others are checking their names, waiting for the exercise to take off immediately. The political parties here are cooperating as they have put in place seats for voters to sit before it gets to their turn to cast their ballots and go home in line with the guideline of INEC. For now, the people are waiting to cast their votes. As you can see, the streets of Auchi are empty in compliance with the restriction of movement order, according to the Inspector General of Police. What we are seeing here today is that the Auchi is the headquarters of Isako West Local Government Area, with over 160,000 voters registered here. But 128,000 voters have so far collected their PVC, which means that we are expecting votes of not less than 128,000 from the entire Isako West Local Government area. Now let's talk to some of the agents of the various political parties here on the preparation so far.
Good morning. My name is Momo Taufik. I'm an APC agent. The INEC officials came very early this morning to make preparations for today's election. As we can all see, they have pasted voters list on the walls, and they have set up the polling booths where voters will be able to vote easily, and the place is calm. They have made proper arrangements that will make the voting for today easy. So in a few minutes, hopefully, the election will commence. So we are waiting.
So what's your name and which party do you belong?
My name is Momo Taufik. I'm APC agent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Man.
My name is Momo Titi Mohammed.
So what's your political party?
I'm agent for PDP.
So what's the situation here so far?
The situation here is calm and cool. Everything is going well. As you can see now, we are prepared to kick off for the voting proper. Thank you.
Any moment from now, the voting will kick off immediately and the voters will make their choice. As time goes on, we'll update you with the situation report here in Isako West Local Government Area. Over now, back to the studio.
Thank you very much, Victor Odionacha. Thank you for that update. Don't count votes yet. Just let's have the ambience there, and of course know exactly what it looks like in that zone. Well, let's compare and contrast. It seems to me as if it's a matter of over now to the people and their decision.
Oh, clearly, your reporting is taking us across the state. Benin City in the first instance, Irekben, where you mentioned former Governor Professor Usumbo, and now Auchi in Isako West. And what you can see as a uniform feature there is serenity. People are primed, they are waiting to cast their votes. And going by the report of one of the party agents who spoke from Auchi a while ago, the INEC too is up to speed. They are setting up, making the arrangement for people to come, set up the platform for people to come and do their voting, and then other things will take off from there. So I think we are ready. September 19th is here, I'll repeat, and happily everything is going well, and we hope it will also end well.
What I think I noticed is there's been a selective use of face masks. Some are using, some are not. But what is important, what we have seen is that everybody seems to be around to want to be a part of the might not have particularly complied with all the instruction and guidelines from the NCDC.
That is a kind of overarching matter. Even the Federal Ministry of Health, all other health agencies have had difficulty persuading people to use their face masks in public space. So today may not be an exception, but it would have been better if it were otherwise.
All right, and as it is, we've seen security, we've seen, you know, the general ambience. Very shortly, we'll begin to see lines form. And at that point, of course, we'll begin to see exactly how efficient the process will look like, especially processes of accreditation, processes of before eventually you are given the ballot papers. In your experience, when will we begin to say, yes, it's a smooth sail?
If at the end of the day the results have been declared, we don't have any reports of violence, and it's clear in the eyes of reasonable people that the person who is declared the winner truly won, and the person who is lost is demonstrated sportsmanship and so on. Those will be ingredients of success.
All right, let's see. I think we can come back to the south now. Obey was the early bird in the morning. She now takes us through some accreditation processes, if I'm correct, and bring us up to speed in terms of the process.
The mood here is one of eagerness. The 907 eligible voters registered in this center within the premises of the Ministry of Education are rushing in to join the queue to vote for their preferred candidates. As promised by INEC, all COVID-19 protocols, guidelines will be observed at the entrance to the premises. Hand sanitizers were being given to the people coming in to sanitize their hands. And also, they have been mandated to put on their face mask. However, I've also observed that the social distancing is not being observed totally as the people are clustered together. However, they are still in the process of checking and verifying that they are on INEC's list. It is quite early, but INEC staff, the ad hoc staff, and the security agents are already on ground preparing for the election. I am here with one of the eligible voters. He has been given a seat here to ensure that he's comfortable before the election starts proper. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, sir, how is the process going?
Well, the process is on ground, and the ANEC staff, ad hoc staff, they are all on ground to make sure the preparation is successful. So the voters, they are on ground too, that to ensure peace and rain, everything arrangement has been put in place by the ANEC.
So, as an advanced man, do you like the way you are being treated here? Because I can see that seats have been provided for you.
Yes, every arrangement has been put right. We are comfortable with the arrangement put in place here.
Process of verification is still ongoing here. Eligible voters are trying to check if they are on INEC's list to vote in this ward in Oredo. I'm here with one of the officials to tell me the process, well, what they are waiting for to commence. Have you started?
At the stage of them, the candidate checking their numbers to make it easier to vote. So that's what we are now, and trying to arrange and put things in place. That's what we are now.
So when is accreditation going to commence?
By 8:30. It's going smoothly. They are cooperative.
All right, many thanks to Obey there. She's been quite up and about in town now. What we have seen, as against what was being forecast in terms of turnout or perhaps unexpected voter, but we are seeing people come out in droves in Edo State. And we had reports yesterday that when our reporter went to the parks, we saw people moving to the hinterland to make sure that they are part of this process.
Oh, sure. Already there is also one instance where fast can defeat theories or forecast. Today is September 19th, and today is where we are going to generate the actuality of the situation. All of that things we were doing before were projections and speculations. So exactly what is going to happen today that will be the concrete reality of September 19th as far as our Edo election is concerned.
That's like one of the respondents in Obe's last report is a bit, elderly, and we can see some care being given to this category of persons, especially as we've heard from INEC in terms of those who might be visually impaired, those who are a bit, advanced in age, as well as pregnant women will be given, the right to vote first in terms of, coming forward first to cast their ballot or perhaps get accredited and all that. And we're seeing that play out, at least in one or two of the places that we have seen here in Edo South, for instance, we are seeing that special emphasis on these special categories of people.
Yes, INEC is simply confirming some of the values of our African communities. Here in Africa, we respect the elderly, we respect the infirm, and the visibly pregnant is often aided as well. So if we are bringing that consciousness to the electoral center, I think INEC is conscious of his environment.
Now, in terms of, what we've had in, before now, is it just a matter of the sensitization efforts that have been put in place by the umpire itself, or perhaps the sensitization that has been done by the political parties? What would you say, brought this level of consciousness, this number of people coming out, and the excitement that this process has generated?
A combination of all, but on top of it all would be the very consciousness of the people. We have always repeated this, since yesterday we have been talking about this. Edo, the way we have today, as a fragment of the old Midwest, we are very, very politically conscious here. And people are aware of what the issues are. Most people have been aware of what the issues are, what the choices are. And they are mobilizing for or against one person, for or against the other. So it's a political process. The voting is going to be the side that will decide. So the turnout, the place being agog and so on, yes, INEC has performed his own role. The political parties have done their own part, but the people themselves are inherently politically conscious. The average Edo voter is ahead of the average. From that all the way. Don't forget this very Edo as if that was created by a plebiscite. And it was the energy of the people. Yesterday we met Debe and the rest of them. They are from this part of the country. And these are leading lights of our political evolution. So I don't think any agency will be able to claim credit exclusively. I think the contributions are all welcome, but the people themselves are also very conscious.
Let me just say that we'll still have a number of other discussants that will join us in the course of this broadcast coming in. It's no idle boast that we, Nigerian Television Authority, the very first and best in news reviews, previews, and interviews, we have been giving you the very best as far as our reports across the country are concerned. Let's see if we can rejoin our reporter in the Edo Central District, talking about Rosemary Ibrahim. Rosemary, what do you have for me?
One of the polling booths in the Southwest local government area of Edo State. As you know, today is the 19th day of September 2020, a day set aside for the gubernatorial election in Edo State. As we can see here, the prospective electorates are already on ground. Some are queuing up to be accredited. As being gathered, accreditation will start 8:30 this morning alongside with voting. Now you see some of them are obeying the guidelines of COVID-19. Some are wearing nose masks, while some are not wearing nose masks.
All right, let's quickly, get you acquainted with the state we are talking about. A brief history of Edo State, and we have that report ready now to let you know exactly what we are talking about, what is in contention. The history is alluded to, and the pedigree of the state itself. Let's take this next report.
Colonel John Yeri was the first military administrator of Edo State at the inception in 1990. He handed over to Chief John Odige Oyegun as the first civilian governor under the transition program of the Babangida administration in January 1992. The Oyegun administration was truncated in November 1993 following a military coup by General Sani Abacha. Colonel Mohammed Abdulsalam Onuka took over the reign of leadership as a military administrator between December 1993 and September 1994. Colonel Basi Asukwo took over from Colonel Onuka as military administrator and was in power until August 1996 when he handed over to Group Captain Baba Adamu Iyam. Iyam was succeeded by Navy Captain Anthony Ibe Oyaregbulem in August 1998. Lucky Nosakai Igbenedion was sworn in as the second executive governor of Edo State on May 29, 1999. He was in office for 8 years. Igbenedion handed over to Professor Osareme Osumbo on May 29, 2007, but his administration was short-lived as he was sacked from office on November 11, 2008. Adams Oshomole became the governor through a Court of Appeal judgment in November 2008 and was in office for 2 terms of 4 years each. He handed over to the incumbent governor, Godwin Obaseki, on November 12, 2016 for a 4-year term. In Benin, Goodluck Enaini, NTA News.
Thank you, good luck, and good luck to you in the field. Let's take one more, the history of the state. We've seen the helmsman of the state from its inception. Now let's take a brief political history of Edo State.
Since the return to democracy in power in the country, Edo State has consequently had its own fair share. In 1999, the first governorship polls saw Lucky Igbenedion defeating Dan Obi. Similarly, in 2003 elections, Lucky Igbenedion won by 969,747 votes. The polls had 1,432,891 total registered voters, with 78% voter turnout, a 3.8% jump from the previous elections. The state had violent free elections in 2007, but had prevalent conflicting results, which led to the reversal of the result by a tribunal verdict in favor of Adams Oshomole. Prior 2007 polls, voter registration dropped by 6%, according to INEC. Between 2016 and 2020, registered number of voters increased from 1.9 million to 2.2 million. A total of 19 candidates contested for the governorship election in 2016 as against 14 in 2020. Analysts say political activities in the state within the period had in one way or the other sharpened the psyche of the citizens.
This 2020 election is taking a different dimension for some very obvious reasons. So that goes to show that there are a lot of dynamics, in our political space, especially in Edo State. Also looking at a lot of things that has transpired between 2016 and now, it's in the obvious, that the people are getting wiser and the people know what to do, and the people are getting a lot of sensitization on a daily basis, especially on what to do as regards elections.
The level of dynamics in terms of what we used to call this general voter apathy in Nigeria, and the fact that, especially for a state like Edo that has a population of over 4 million, and when you check the statistics from INEC, you have over 1 million registered voters. So essentially, this time around, the people certainly will come out to decide one thing, their future.
These respondents say with the 2020 Edo governorship election, the bar has further been raised, indicating some level of improvement.
For me, it is for the people to understand one thing, that these dynamics must be sustained. It is not just for us to have these elections, but we should have more and more persons participate in the electoral process and in elective positions.
Instead of having strong men and strong women, we should have strong institutions so that, at every given point in time, the institutions will be ready to do their job while the strong men and women, will be left on their own, to do what they need to do.
They are optimistic that these developments will further strengthen democracy. In Benin, good luck in NTA News.
Thank you. Good luck. There's a lot at stake this time, and we've seen a situation. Of course, very soon we'll bring a guest into the house so that we get. But I want you to, look at the general behavior of, Edolites or indigenous of the state to elections, as well as the acceptance of, maybe candidates that are not the most popular. How has it been in terms of voting women in positions of authority in Edo State? Not necessarily in terms of governorship, but generally.
Oh, well, just allow me to address that. There was
yes, Lucky Maswen.
Lucky Maswen that was defeated by Chief Okebinido in 1999.
Yes, yes, that was a running mate. Was a running mate.
And the same Maswen eventually became running mate with Osumbo again.
Yes, in 2007.
Yes, for the correction of our political history. Yeah. Then for women, really, it's agreed by scholars and casual observers that women suffer some kind of barriers, not only in politics, even in other aspects of society. In principle, it's been agreed now that there should be a kind of quota reserved for them. And some political parties, I don't know whether they are still operating that now, they used to give women some kind of help by saying they didn't have to pay for forms, nomination. The political process itself has many more things you have to bring together. The political parties over time, and the attitude of society over time, and the readiness of the women themselves for things to actually be at par, if that's the desired goal. But for now, I do agree that there are some barriers that keep women apart from the mainstream. Those barriers can actually be addressed deliberately, but they do exist.
All right. So let's look at it this way. There are two, female candidates I understand in this one. How have they gone about their campaigns, and have they been able to prick our consciousness to the fact that our mothers too should get a shot?
Well, it's not about pricking any consciousness, really. It's actually about proving your mettle. Even as we talk about barriers and so on, we should filter out the unfair barriers. But after, when that will have been done, any candidate is coming to be governor, not because he's a man or a woman. After all, we don't have any structural barriers like, say, it's a man that should be a governor in the Constitution or anywhere it is written. So a woman who can stand out, who can mobilize support, mobilize the resources needed to run a successful campaign, of course, the field is well open. So it's not just about being a woman and you begin to quarry or seek sympathy and all that. No, you prove your mettle.
All right, our reporter is in the field. Uduak, if I can still get you. If Uduak is there, we would try and get Uduak as soon as we can. But we will, once she's ready, we will join her. I understand that there are some live accreditation actualities that we will get in the course of this discussion. But let's quickly look at, you were talking about, women voters and all that. Not women candidates, but in terms of women voters, how strong are they as well in the state?
No, not only in Nigeria, across the world. People know that women actually are very active. And in some places, they come out in majority. It's actually one of the points people make, that if women really form the backbone of electoral mobilization, whether at the party level or in terms of general voting, why couldn't they be found worthy of holding the offices themselves? So it's a moral question, and I don't think whether politics per se can address that.
All right, just on getting reports from the field that the APC candidate, Pastor Usagi, is a Yamu, who has just voted in his own ward. We'll be trying to get a reporter right there to give us actualities as soon as we can link her. I think it's Uduak who's right there. But we are seeing, some shots from town. But once we get Uduak to give us actualities from that ward, we will join her. But we understand that the APC candidate talking about Pastor Osage Ize-Yamu has already done the needful, talking about casting his own ballot right there in his ward. But we're giving you details very shortly. It's a situation where we've had, two popular candidates, but we didn't quite get too much from the other candidates as well. Is it a matter, is it a function of the size of the parties, or perhaps it's just as if two captured more?
Partly a function of the size of the party. Yeah, for any organization to be taken seriously, the people who form the leadership, the spread of the membership of that organization, the ideology or the goals declared by that organization, the spread of that organization, the caliber of persons, journalists subscribe to that organization, all those things matter. And attention, social attention can also be a scarce resource, and it cannot be spread on what looks academic. So that's actually what has made this race what looks like a two-horse race, though you have 14 political parties vying for that office. Because with due respect to those political parties, they need time to actually persuade the public that they should be taken seriously.
All right, talking about women voters as well as women candidates, we have the National President Women in Politics is a guest today, and of course an election observer, perhaps also observing the performance of women in politics in this one. Let's welcome Ebere Fendu. Thank you for joining us. Your impression so far since you've gotten to Edo State?
It's been very calm. We are expecting that the elections will be free and fair, and there won't be violence. We've gone around since we arrived in Benin City, and we've not seen any sign of crisis or whatever. So we are very optimistic. But importantly for us is to see that women are protected, especially, if you look back to the Kogi election, we had a terrible time in Kogi, and then we actually ended up losing a woman in a post-election crisis when a woman was burnt in her house. So that's a very big concern for us as women observing the election. And we are actually having our own situation room. And the essence of the situation room is to ensure that we take care of every issue concerning women. If pregnant women are given their own lines, if women are also given their separate lines to vote, if persons with disability are also, giving attention to. So generally, we're here to look at every aspect of the election, from the accreditation to election, voting proper to after voting. So, our interest is to see that women that we encourage to come out to vote will vote, and they will be protected, and most especially that their votes will count, because that's very important for us.
All right, before you came in, we wanted you to, speak into some of the, logistics issues in this election. Tell me a bit about what you have seen so far.
Yeah, naturally, there's no way, we will not have one or two glitches, but the good thing is that for us, having followed up INEC, we've seen that there's been some changes. INEC has been able to dispatch even all the materials needed to their respective places, and I think with that is a good thing that is happening. But at the same time, we are also getting reports that in some areas also that some got it late. But generally, these are things that you would expect. There's no way it's just going to be 100% free of some of these issues.
Okay, you just mentioned INEC now. Now, let's take this report we packaged just before dawn, INEC's expectation from the electorate, and of course, the issues we've raised today based on the pictures that have emerged, adherence to COVID-19 protocol. Let's take that report.
Nigeria has of recent been recording a decline in the number of confirmed cases of coronavirus infection. In order to further reduce cases of community transmission, especially during an election of this nature, INEC has initiated a 10-point guideline for voters coming to the polling centers. They include compulsory use of face masks and hand sanitizer, physical distancing, and the use of infrared thermometer to monitor voters' temperature.
The issue of voter education and sensitization is not limited to INEC, but is also very much the responsibility of all stakeholders. And I strongly solicit for the continuous sensitization of the electorate on the need to exercise their right to franchise and to observe the COVID-19 protocols whilst doing so. Wearing of a face mask or covering will be enforced in this election. Therefore, we seek your help in the dissemination of this information to your supporters.
These eligible voters may be ready with their PVCs, but how aware are they of the requirements to be complied with in the new normal?
I'm aware, and I'm ready with my face mask for that day. INEC has made it clear that if you don't have it on, you will not cast your vote. Myself and my family will be going on that on the 19th to the polling our polling center to cast our vote with our face mask on.
I'm aware that one, for us to be allowed to vote on that day, we must all put on our face masks. Number two,